You've made your way to the most in-depth, geeky weather forecast video you're going to find anywhere on the internet, especially one that's focused on Eastern Ohio and Western PA. Hi everyone, I'm Eric Wilhelm. It is the final evening of spring in the Northern Hemisphere, astronomical spring anyway, as summer is set to begin tomorrow, and appropriately enough is a pretty seasonable day today, although we got off to a warmer than average start this morning. It was kind of sultry outside last night and first thing this morning, something we haven't seen often in the last few weeks. A warm night. A lot of our nights have been, of course, on the cooler side. 64 at the airport this morning, 82 this afternoon, and a dry day for today. We could use some more rain, and we'll talk about those rain chances coming up later in the video. In the meantime, only a couple of spots in our TV market may get a couple of raindrops this evening. We've had some showers that have been kind of tracking over many of the same areas up in Crawford County around Meadville. A couple of these sneaking into Ashtabula County as well. This originated with kind of a lake breeze off of Lake Erie this afternoon, and some far northern Trumbull and Mercer communities may see a couple of raindrops before the evening's through. Most of us will miss out on that. Pretty active week across the eastern U.S. Big upper low spinning out here. It's already been very wet along the Blue Ridge Parkway and heading down through Virginia into the Carolinas, and they're going to continue to see pretty unsettled weather during midweek. Otherwise, the big national weather story is the heat. Now, it's June. Hot weather in Texas is usually not a big story, but it's really hot in Texas, even by Texas in June standards. So excessive heat warnings cover almost the entire state of Texas, at least the kind of eastern and southern 80% or so of the state of Texas, where triple-digit heat has been common. At Dallas, it is 97, but you can see some of those colors just to the south and west of Dallas. Those are 100-plus temperatures. And a lot of what's called the hill country in central Texas, down into the lower Rio Grande Valley in southern Texas as well. It is really, really hot, but it's been really, really dry closer to home. Here's a look at the precipitation compared to the average over the last 30 days, and in a lot of important agricultural areas. We're running some pretty good deficits over the last month or so, of course, and this is particularly the case to our west across kind of the main corn belt. Iowa, Illinois, parts of Indiana, a lot of Michigan's been really dry. We're dry here locally, but some of the rain last week certainly put a dent in some of the deficits we were ringing up in eastern Ohio and western PA, but a lot of these red colors, that's well under 50% of the average rainfall over the last month. And so, yeah, it's a concern for a lot of agricultural interests across the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley as well. A couple of bad satellite frames today makes for kind of a jumpy animation here. But this is Brett, which became a tropical storm last evening, or yesterday afternoon, late in the afternoon, across the Atlantic. I talked about this some on Weather Geeks last evening. This is a little unusual in that Brett is in a spot that we don't typically see a lot of development until later in the season, but the warm water in the Atlantic is going to make for some interesting times over the next couple of months. Brett is a tropical storm, unlikely to strengthen into a major hurricane. It might tick up to a Category 1 hurricane at some point. This could be a concern late this week for parts of the Caribbean, especially the eastern Caribbean, probably going south then of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. Unlikely to be any sort of impactful system for the mainland U.S. At some point over the weekend, it may completely dissipate as it runs into some wind shear. Back here across eastern Ohio and western PA, those dew points will come down a few notches on Wednesday, but then start to be elevated again at the end of the weekend. Now, in the middle of July, this would be no big deal, but we haven't had very much humid weather so far this season, so it's going to feel pretty muggy for a prolonged stretch here, I think, at the end of the weekend, into the first half of next week as well. Well, as you know by now, of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, summer gets underway just before 11 a.m. on Wednesday. This is the day of the year that we have the longest amount, or the most amount of daylight, I should say. It's the time of the year that if you go outside at solar noon, your shadow will be shorter than any other time of the year because the sun is at its highest point in the sky it ever gets around here on the solstice in June. Now, the latest sunset is a few days after this. It's actually a 7-day stretch from the 24th through the 30th. That's when our sunset officially in Youngstown goes to 8:59. We've already seen our earliest sunrises of the year. Our sunrises at Youngstown get to their earliest points in mid-June at 5:49 a.m. So we've already seen that sunrise time tick up 1 minute as of today. But of course, overall daylight at its longest on Wednesday, first day of summer, and we'll have a similar day to today, a mix of sun and clouds. It'll be dry from start to finish. Now tomorrow night, Wednesday night and Thursday morning, we could get a couple of showers As finally this low pressure system starts to make some moves northward, our rain chances will then be higher Thursday night late into the daylight hours on Friday. Now, is this an all-day washout on Friday? No, I don't think so, but showers are probably going to come and go. There might be a thunderstorm in the mix as well. Don't think there'll be any severe weather at this point. Rain chances elevated certainly Friday, probably decreasing for a time later Friday night, maybe first thing Saturday morning. Could be kind of an active afternoon Saturday, especially in western PA, but I do think we'll squeeze in a dry second half of the weekend on Sunday. That looks like a warm day as well. Early next week, some shower and thunderstorm chances returning to the forecast, and this will be a time period that we'll have to watch out maybe for some heavier, gustier storms. Rainfall totals over the next 7 days likely to be at least an inch, perhaps an inch and a half, but your mileage certainly can vary, as it oftentimes does at this time of the year. In the heart of our television viewing area, say Mahoning County, for example, we haven't had a slight risk, only a level 2 on the 1 to 5 severe weather scale, in 76 days. It's been since early April of 2023. It's been a long time since we've had a legitimate severe weather threat in most of our area. Now, of course, we had 9 tornadoes late last week in northern Ohio, but well off to our west across the Toledo, Sandusky area, in some communities south and west of Cleveland, but nothing, of course, in our television viewing area. It's been well over 2 months since we've had a slight risk. Again, only level 2. We see typically 20 to 25 of those days per year. We haven't had one in over 2 months, kind of what we think of as typically kind of the heart of severe weather season around here, late May into a lot of June. It's been very, very quiet, but I'm going to keep my eye on early next week. In the meantime, thanks for watching Weather for Weather Geeks tonight. We'll do an update on that weekend forecast, the chances of heavy storms early next week, and much, much more coming up on Wednesday evening, the first evening of summer. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night.